If Mount Massive's asylum overload of blood, gore, and mangled bodies didn't scare you, then Temple Gate definitely will. After the overwhelming popularity of Outlast, Outlast 2 was unleashed upon fans ready to be vulnerable and scared once more. Will you take the challenge? Hi, I'm Brendan with the Leaderboard, and we're here to record the facts about one of 2017's most anticipated horror games. So ready your camcorders and prepare to run, because we've got 107 facts about Outlast 2. Let's get started. Outlast 2, like the original, was developed by Red Barrels. The Montreal-based company wanted to pursue psychological horror in the sequel, which they weren't able to explore in the first game. Philippe Morin, one of the co-founders of Red Barrels and co-creators of Outlast, said, "Internally, what we've been saying is, the first Outlast was meant to take your physical integrity, and the second Outlast will take your mental integrity." Many of Red Barrels' developers come from impressive backgrounds, including the three founders, Philippe Morin, David Chantoneuf, and Hugo Dallaire. Some of their previous projects include Splinter Cell Conviction, Dead Space 2, and Assassin's Creed. Outlast 2 was originally slated for a fall 2016 release, but was pushed back almost a year to its current 2017 debut. Unlike Outlast, where there was a set deadline due to the tight budget, Outlast 2 gave Red Barrels a chance to be more flexible with their schedule and develop the game until it was at its absolute best. The trailer for Outlast 2 was released on April 21st, 2017 on Red Barrels' YouTube channel. It features scenes from the game along with Jessica Gray singing a creepy version of the Bible song, "Oh Be Careful Little Eyes." Outlast diehards shouldn't expect to see any cameos from characters from the first game. Outlast 2 gives players a new cast of characters along with a new setting. However, the two games are technically indirect sequels. You can find out how they're connected through comic books called the Murkoff account, which Red Barrels released on their website. Go ahead and download them now, if you dare. As early as 2015, Red Barrels tantalized fans by hinting that Murkoff Corporation, which was responsible for reopening Mount Massive Asylum and Outlast, would somehow be involved in the sequel. Fans have speculated that Murkoff Corporation definitely has something to do with Temple Gate, because one of the documents found in the game mentions Jennifer Rowland, a Murkoff Corporation pathologist. That should ring a bell from the first game. The story of Outlast 2 was largely inspired by the Jonestown Massacre in 1978, which was a cult-based mass suicide. The in-game cult Testament of the New Ezekiel bears similarities to the People's Temple, the cult led by Reverend Jim Jones, founder of Jonestown. Red Barrels found the story of the Jonestown Massacre to be so fascinating that they started looking into other cults, such as the Waco Siege, the Order of the Solar Temple, Heaven's Gate, and Aleister Crowley and the Jesus of Siberia. Outlast 2 was additionally inspired by the classic staples of the Southern Gothic horror genre, such as Children of the Corn, Take Shelter, Jonestown Paradise Lost, The Shining, The Wicker Man, and so many others. So there's your horror homework, everybody. Morin knew that he wanted to expand the world in Outlast 2 and go much deeper into the story and character than the original. In an interview with the Daily Dot, Morin explained, "There's much more room for the main character, and we wanted a deeper storyline. The personal relationships will factor into the story quite a bit." Morin stated that while religion plays a large part of Outlast 2, saying that religion is the main theme of the game is like saying Eyes Wide Shut is about sex. Sounds about right, actually. Sequels are tricky. The development team didn't want to take anything away that made the first game a success. However, they realized they needed to bring in something new. So they read through everything that was ever said about Outlast and used the feedback to shape how they would make the sequel. One key difference between Outlast 2 and its predecessor is the way fear is created. Outlast depended heavily on jump scares and unsettling imagery to scare players. Part of this was due to Red Barrels' tight budget and time constraints. This time, however, Morin wanted to step away from that and incorporate a more compelling narrative and psychological horror. In response to feedback from the first Outlast game, Red Barrels made the sequel 25% longer, with a more complex storyline and psychological horror coming into play. In short, if you don't like being scared, don't play Outlast 2. Morin wanted the game to play with the lines of reality, since reality is subjective. Outlast 2 wanted to debunk the belief that followers aren't intelligent and cannot think for themselves, and show how cult members simply reshaped their reality to their belief, which is honestly terrifying for entirely different reasons. Even with the changes they made to Outlast 2, the Red Barrels team did stick to their roots. Of course, they wanted to continue improving, but ultimately they wanted to approach Outlast 2 with the same drive, namely to make a game they would be scared of playing themselves and to trust their instincts. Outlast was known for the haunting, larger-than-life characters. Outlast 2's development team approached the sequel with this in mind, and had 2 character modelers working on the game, compared to 1 character modeler for Outlast. Hey, that's a 100% increase in character modelers! You may wonder why the protagonists for Outlast and Outlast 2 are investigative journalists. No, Red Barrels does not have a vendetta against them. The development team wanted protagonists who would have a legitimate reason to carry around a camcorder and would feel a need to record the events happening around them. Compared to the protagonist in Outlast, Outlast 2's protagonist, Blake Langermann, has more dialogue. This was done so players could have more information about the game as well as the protagonist himself. Outlast 2 jumps between the present and the past. Through a series of flashbacks, players get to see Blake's life in Catholic school and how two specific people there affected him. The transition between the Arizona desert and the flashbacks are very clear as supernatural events occur before the switch. For instance, giant tentacles emerge from a well and pull Blake inside and into the school hallways. One of these supernatural events, where a huge wave of blood comes crashing through the school hallway, is very similar to a scene in The Shining. When asked if these sequences were real or a figment of Blake's hallucinations, Morin said that that was up to the player's interpretation. When Blake first appears in the school hallway, he finds Jessica's locker. In it, you will find a note passed between Jessica and Lynn, indicating that the two were friends. The note shows banter between the two with a drawing of a unicorn and a centaur at the bottom. Adorable? On closer inspection, this note also reveals that Jessica had a crush on Blake. Considering that Blake is currently married to Lynn, this is quite the gossip. Looks like the game already gave red flags to the relationship even before it's explained. Throughout Outlast 2, you'll find drawings of Jessica's Hangman games. The answers to each game reveal a different part of her psyche and foreshadows what happens to her. Don't worry, no spoilers here. Even though you are able to record events in Outlast 2 and rewatch them, recording scenes from Blake's school will result in footage that has static and garbled noise. However, if you rewatch them backwards, you will hear hidden messages. In popular culture, playing records backwards is rumored to be a way to discover satanic messages. With all of the dark undertones in Outlast 2, this Easter egg checks out. In one of the school flashbacks, Blake takes a call from Loudermilch, and a long tongue comes out of the phone afterwards. Fans believe this is a reference to a scene from Nightmare on Elm Street where Freddy's tongue comes out of the phone. Throughout the game, you can see Sullivan Noth, the antagonist, portrayed in pictures that resemble iconic Christian imagery. For instance, with a halo behind him, like some kind of horrifying saint. Val, one of the tertiary antagonists and leader of the Heretics, has an ambiguous form throughout the game. And when asked about the character's gender, Red Barrel simply responded, Val is Val. Interestingly, not all enemies or unknown figures will attack you. For instance, one man watching you from a distance will back away rather than charge at you, which ties in with Red Barrel's more psychologically centered approach. Who will leave you alone? Who will you need to run from? The uncertainty is driving me insane. Mental integrity is put to the test by the game's emphasis on isolation. The game is set in a vast desert in northern Arizona, but the creepy story makes even the largest space seem small. Morin stated that the desert setting was not meant to give players a sense of freedom. If he had his way, the setting would make players feel claustrophobic. Why Arizona? The development team thought Arizona was very different from the asylum from the first game, and they wanted a challenge. It took the team about a year to design their Arizona landscape, meticulously refining it until the open desert felt just as claustrophobic as a confined hospital. Another reason to set the game in Arizona was the variety of possible environments, so players could feel like they were on a journey and not just stuck in one place, and to mess with the player's mind. As Morin puts it, the first one was like a sprint, the second one will feel like a marathon. If you pay attention to the game, you'll see black blobs moving around. Red Barrels' senior technical artist, Alexandre Saborin, realized that one night just seeing movement from something could be unsettling, and concluded, I don't like that, and I want that in our game. Some features were changed in Outlast 2 as well. In the first Outlast game, players could use a camcorder as a flashlight, and any notes or documents in the game had to be read after they were found. The sequel changed this so that players could actually use the camcorder to record events, rewatch them, and hear commentary from the protagonist. Plus, the camcorder could be used for night vision. The scarcity of light in Outlast 2 adds extra terror. You're armed only with your night vision camcorder, which you must find batteries for, and the multiple heart-pounding chase scenes make it difficult to navigate properly. There are objects that provide some form of light, such as fires and lampposts, but they're dim and never bright enough to add any, well, relief. You won't find too many video gamey elements in Outlast 2, as the team opted for a realistic experience. For example, batteries for Blake's camcorder show up just often enough for it to be believable, but not too often that it seemed convenient. The team also brought this approach to the few puzzles that are scattered throughout the game. Rather than have the puzzles merely exist to increase gameplay, they actually advance the story. Another important feature added to your camcorder is a microphone. The microphone measures surrounding audio levels to help the player determine if enemies are nearby. If audio levels increase, then hide. Outlast gives players more hiding options, including bodies of water. The protagonist Blake still can't defend himself, he can only run and hide. The number of hiding spots was increased to give players a more creative experience. Outlast 2 was modified using Unreal Engine 3 and incorporates a new system freedom of movement. While the protagonist could hide under a bed with a single click of the button in the first game, Outlast 2 gives you the option of crawling under beds instead, making chase scenes more realistic and even scarier. You can slide under things too. After hearing feedback from players that the first Outlast game became predictable after a while, Red Barrels worked to make sure that the sequel wouldn't have the same problem. They wanted players to play through the game without knowing what was going on or what was coming next. Perhaps for that reason, as you play Outlast 2, you can expect scenes that seem to be out of the blue. The team at Red Barrels calls these WTF moments, and they believe that horror games should start with a WTF moment and have them throughout the story to give players a sense of insecurity. The inverted cross featured in Outlast 2's title and within the game is often mistaken for a satanic symbol, but it's actually related to St. Peter. St. Peter wanted to be crucified differently than Jesus was, as he felt that he didn't deserve to die in the same way his Lord had. Therefore, the Romans crucified St. Peter with an upside-down cross. In the past, a burning cross was an indication of war and protest, which is most likely what the burning cross imagery in Outlast 2 was meant to represent. If you take a look at Outlast 2's teaser logo with the night vision filter, you'll notice eyes in the background. Creepy. When they weren't working on Outlast 2, the development team enjoyed playing multiplayer games such as Borderlands and Left 4 Dead. And because Red Barrels is a Canadian company, the crew also played lots of NHL. As one employee put it, hockey is our religion. Fans of Outlast soundtrack will be very happy to hear that the composer Samuel Laflamme returned to work on Outlast 2. He also scored the Whistleblower expansion. Composing the music for Outlast 2 was more demanding than the first game. Since the Arizona desert is slightly different from a hospital, Laflamme needed to start from scratch and compose music that was fresh and fit a rural setting, but was still terrifying. For Outlast 2, Laflamme and his team changed their approach to instrumentation entirely. The first game used more of an orchestral score to give it a gothic feeling. Outlast 2's score features more banjos, guitars, and percussion. The recordings went through modular filtering to make them sound even more unsettling. Laflamme and his team even created custom instruments for Outlast 2's soundtrack. A fascination with everyday objects led them to design an instrument that was basically just a metal string attached to a piece of wood. The instrument was bowed with a violin bow, and the sounds were picked up by a contact mic. Laflamme wanted to sound similar to a guitar and a bass, but wasn't either. The track Show Me Your True Face was considered too intense to be put in Outlast 2. It was meant to be used for a chase scene and had a lot of distorted sounds, but had to be toned down before it made it onto the soundtrack, which really says something. Laflamme posted a video on his YouTube channel on April 17th, 2016, showcasing the entirety of Outlast 2's soundtrack, just in case he wanted to perpetuate that creepiness in everyday life. Laflamme admitted that his own music scared him. He and his team would often play the game themselves with the lights off and the music turned really loud, just to make sure the soundtrack fit the game. Laflamme had to tell his assistant to stop screaming so he could tweak the music. The public's first taste of Outlast 2 was a teaser trailer released in October 2015, which featured a cross that was engulfed in flames along with an old man's voice booming in the background. The speech in the first Outlast 2 teaser trailer is a combination of different quotes from the Bible, mainly from Revelation 14, the Lamb and the 144,000, as well as the three angels in Babylon's fall. Because of the particularities of the vocabulary, it's been speculated that the old man's speech may have actually come from the King James version of the Bible. The old man returned in the second teaser trailer, but this time he quotes from the book of Revelation and Deuteronomy. Following the teaser trailer, a teaser image of the game was revealed the following January. It showed a figure holding a very detailed pickaxe with the Arizona desert in the background. Long story short, it had an ominous vibe. One dedicated Twitter fan shared an image of an impressive handmade foam model of that very detailed pickaxe shown in the Outlast 2 demo and teaser images. Red Barrels liked it so much that they retweeted it. Outlast 2's Steam page subsequently went live November 6, 2015, but as you know, the physical game wasn't available until April 2017. A long wait, but totally worth it. Red Barrel announced on April 1st, 2016 that Outlast would be given an ESRB rating of E for everybody, due to the backlash they received from parents following Outlast and Whistleblower. Hey, perhaps parents should test games to— Oh, April 1st. Oh, okay, I get it. Good one. Leading up to Outlast 2's release, Red Barrels occasionally posted images on Twitter showing a page from the Gospel of Noth. The first went up on June 14th, 2016 and read The Gospel of Noth 1-2. Elected according to the blood wept in Revelation, the foreknowledge of the enemy, and even at the gate of the crumbling ramparts, the obedience to the blood of God and Jesus Christ. Grace unto you, but never peace. There were a few more pages of the Gospel shared in September, October, and December of 2016. You can check out the Red Barrels Twitter page if you want some more quotes. Red Barrels likes to share how its games are progressing on social media. One charming post showed a senior character artist named Pascal working on the character design for a skinned body. Another sneak peek showed sound designer Francis working on the game's final mix at Game On Undertones studio. He was working on the helicopter crash scene when the photo was taken, as Lynn is shown with a headset on in the helicopter. Red Barrels also updated fans on Outlast 2's development through the occasional quaint journal entry. One of them had a little code hinting at a demo in October. Fans worldwide got their chance to play Outlast 2's demo starting on October 4th, 2016. It was available on Steam, North America, Europe, PlayStation stores, and North America, Europe, Xbox stores. Outlast 2 made some serious convention rounds, even in 2016. RTX 2016, an event brought together by Rooster Teeth, hosted a how-to Outlast 2 segment with Joel Heyman and Gilby Ranger. Morin was at E3 2016. The Red Barrels co-founder discussed Outlast 2 live on stage with Twitch and GameSpot. Popular Twitch star Matt McMuscles was brought on stage to play Outlast 2 in front of a live audience for a panel at a convention. No word on whether he needed underscares. More on that later. At PAX East 2016, fans were able to play a 15-minute demo of Outlast 2. Some of the team admitted they enjoyed hearing the screams from players testing out the demo and seeing smiles on their faces when they finished playing. Fans were able to play this Outlast 2 demo inside of a booth shaped like a chapel. Clever, Red Barrels. Very clever. IGN and GameSpot both named Outlast 2 one of their favorite games at PAX East 2016. Way to scare, Red Barrels. At Montreal Comic-Con, fans were able to use an Outlast 2 filter on Snapchat, so, as Red Barrels said, they could share their screams. The filter had a green hue to it, reminiscent of how the game appears when using the camcorder. In November 2016, Red Barrels launched a Kickstarter campaign for an Outlast 2 companion diaper. Wait, what? We're not joking. The developers seem to think that the game is so scary you will wet yourself. The companion diaper, called Underscares, had a starting price of around $40. It would also come with a Steam copy of Outlast 2, and if you really wanted, you could purchase the design of the diaper and DIY it, in case you had too much pride to pay $40 for an adult diaper. The Kickstarter video explained how Underscares came to be, citing multitudes of comments from fans who said the first game's terrors had caused them to involuntarily go number 1 or number 2. The commercial also featured an interview with a PhD in gastroenterology, just to back their claims up scientifically. Despite understandable disbelief, Red Barrels was adamant that the diaper was real. In partnership with local designers, we developed a diaper prototype that combines practicality, comfort, and style, so gamers can experience abject terror without worrying about dirtying their egos or their couches, they explained. Sounds like a lot of work for a collector's item. The Underscares Kickstarter raised 21,000 Canadian dollars, but didn't meet its goal of 40,000, so the diaper didn't become a reality. Sorry, backers. Sorry, pants. While Underscares' funding failure left many fans disappointed, some continued to show interest in obtaining a pair of the diapers through the official Kickstarter page. Sadly, those wishes will not be fulfilled. You can still make your own, though. Underscares was chosen as a project we love by Kickstarter. Just goes to show that even being related to a popular game and having Kickstarter itself single you out sadly does not guarantee success. For Valentine's Day 2017, Red Barrels posted a video on their Twitter account of a wooden demonic figure with Val saying, "God doesn't love you, not like I do." Of course, there's a creepy laugh at the end for good measure. Ideal Valentine? No thanks. Australia almost never got Outlast 2. The game was initially rejected by Australia's classification board, who refused to give the game a rating because they found implied sexual violence in some scenes of the game. However, it was discovered that the classification board had been given the wrong version of Outlast 2. Oops. Along with a copy of the final game, a video of the footage taken out from the alpha version of the game was sent to the board for reference. This video was not a great representative of what the final game looked like. After the mistake was corrected, the game was submitted again, this time with a referential video that properly showed what was in the game. Outlast 2 received an R18 rating in Australia, with the censorship board claiming that the game was modified, even though Red Barrels denies it. On April 25th, 2017, Red Barrels released a physical 3-game bundle deal with Outlast Trinity, the same day Outlast 2 got its own release. The Outlast Trinity is playable on PS4 and Xbox One. The cover art for Outlast Trinity features the major antagonists from each of the Outlast games: Richard Traeger from Outlast, Eddie Gluskin from the Whistleblower expansion, and Sullivan Noth of Outlast 2. If you wanted to play Outlast 2 on PlayStation VR, then you're out of luck. In an interview with PlayStation Lifestyle, Morin explained his view that good VR games needed to be created with VR compatibility in mind from the very beginning, which, due to the size of the team, Red Barrel did not consider. However, the Outlast sequel will have a PS4 Pro mode. This mode will take advantage of the PS4 Pro's processing power and show off improvements such as higher shadow quality, texture filtering, and more detailed meshes. Gotta love those meshes. is. To test out how scary Outlast 2 is, IGN locked some of their employees in a room with it and had them play the demo. Judging from the 5.5 minutes of reaction footage that was put together, the game is pretty darn scary. Those IGN employees who were locked in a room with the Outlast 2 demo weren't traumatized in vain. While the first game received a 7.8 rating, IGN gave the sequel a higher score of 8.3. Outlast 2 was a commercial success, easily covering development costs and more. However, the game did have its issues, which fans voiced through reviews, Let's Plays, and other outlets. In response to the feedback, Red Barrels created a patch for the PC version that launched on May 5th, 2017, which fixed quite a few things. Don't worry, gamers, the patch will be available for consoles too. One of the things the patch addressed was the difficulty levels. The patch made it so the normal difficulty would let players have more balanced gameplay experience, and the hard and nightmare difficulty levels would remain as challenging as they should be. Another big feature that the patch altered was Blake's camcorder microphone battery. While the microphone came in handy in tracking down enemies, using it drained a lot of battery. The patch prevented the microphone from consuming too much battery power. The patch also gives the game larger subtitles. Due to the fast-paced nature of Outlast 2, some dialogue is tricky to pinpoint by just listening alone, and some fans had difficulty reading the subtitles as well. Did you play Outlast 2 and see some strange black squares appear on your screen at certain resolutions? Not to be confused with the black blobs, of course. Red Barrels tackled the issue in the patch. Wouldn't want some unneeded squares interfering with the scares? Here's a biggie. If you played Outlast 2 on Steam, there's a chance you lost your save files when Steam didn't initialize. The patch has you covered. No more game saves will be lost. Like we needed another reason to scream related to this game. Outlast 2 has a total of 25 trophies to earn. Some are as easy as collecting all of the game's documents, but others get incredibly hard, like finishing the game in nightmare mode and finishing the game without hiding in a barrel or a closet. The crew at Red Barrels have a wicked sense of humor. One Twitter fan asked Red Barrels to make Outlast 2 more kawaii, or cute. In response, Red Barrels sent a picture of Sullivan Noth with anime eyes, blushing cheeks, commenting, "We tried, but we're not sure if this is any less scary." One player discovered cut audio from the game that depicted unconsented sex between Jessica and Father Lautemilch. It's already implied in the game that Jessica was molested, but the deleted audio reveals that wasn't all. Maybe this was the version Australia got. On one of the walls, you can find a reference to Richard Traeger from the first Outlast. Fingers first, then balls, then tongue. Early in Outlast 2, there's another reference to the first game. One of the cult members repeats a line said by a patient in the hospital. "Get them out, please. The doctor is dead. Rip them clean. You have to help me." There are two endings to the game, though they only differ minorly from each other. Depending on how you play, you'll either see Jessica with a mark on her neck or without one. Which did you get? Ever concerned with feedback, Red Barrels launched a forum for fans to discuss Outlast and Outlast 2, share fan art, report troubleshooting, and voice anything else they wanted. So go share your thoughts and art. Once again, I'm Brendan, and thanks for watching 107 Facts about Outlast 2. Have you played it? Did you have nightmares? What's your favorite part? Comment below and let us know, and don't forget to click on the bell icon to become part of the notification squad. And if you like getting more from your games, make sure to subscribe to the Leaderboard, where we help you game smarter.